Here's something nobody tells you when you're growing up. You're handed two rules about debt. Rule 1, a mortgage is good debt. Rule 2, a credit card is bad debt. Memorize those, follow them, and you'll be fine. But here's the problem. Those rules are incomplete. And for millions of people, following them blindly has quietly cost them a fortune. By the end of this video, you're going to understand debt the way most people never do. Not as a label, not as a category, but as a number. A number that either works for you or works against you. And once you see it that way, you'll never look at a loan, a mortgage, or a credit card bill the same way again. And hey, if this kind of breakdown is useful to you, hit subscribe. I put a lot of work into making these as clear as possible, and it genuinely helps the channel grow. Let's get into it. Every piece of debt you've ever had, every mortgage, car loan, credit card, student loan, has one thing in common. It has an interest rate. That rate is the price you pay to borrow money. And here's the only question that actually matters. Is that rate higher or lower than what your money could earn if you invested it instead? That's it. That's the entire framework. If your debt is costing you more than your money could realistically earn elsewhere, paying it off is your single best investment. Full stop. But if your money could earn more than your debt is costing you, then in many cases, keeping that low rate debt and putting your extra cash to work in the market is actually the smarter financial move. No labels, no categories, just two numbers, and whichever one is bigger tells you what to do. Now, let's see exactly what this looks like in practice, starting with the most expensive kind of debt most people carry. Picture this. Someone has an $8,000 balance sitting on a credit card. The interest rate is 22%. It doesn't feel catastrophic. It's just a balance they're chipping away at month by month. But here's what's actually happening under the surface. At 22% interest, that $8,000 balance is generating roughly $1,760 in interest charges every single year. Not $1,760 going toward the paying off what they owe, $1,760 that vanishes, gone, before a single dollar of the actual balance moves. And if they're only making the minimum payment, that $8,000 balance could take over 5 years to clear. By the time the last payment goes through, they'll have handed the bank somewhere close to $14,500 on an $8,000 debt, nearly twice what they originally borrowed. Now here's the reframe that changes everything. Paying off that 22% credit card is not just getting rid of a bill. Mathematically, it is the exact same thing as finding an investment that guarantees you a 22% return every single year, completely tax-free. Think about that for a moment. The stock market, over long periods of time, has averaged around 10% a year. The best high-yield savings accounts available right now offer somewhere around 4 to 5%. Even the most aggressive investors in the world would be thrilled with a guaranteed 22% annual return. But that's exactly what eliminating a 22% credit card debt gives you. It's just disguised as a bill instead of an opportunity. This is why for debt in this range, anything above 15% and especially anything above 20%, the rule is clear. Attack it first, everything else waits. This includes payday loans, which can carry interest rates of 300% or more when annualized. It includes store financing deals that switch to high rates after a promotional period. Any debt with a rate this high is a financial emergency, even if it doesn't feel like one. Now, let's talk about the other end of the spectrum, because this is where most of the confusion lives. Imagine someone with a 30-year mortgage at 6.5% interest. They're doing well financially, making extra payments every month, trying to own their home outright as fast as possible. They feel responsible, disciplined, ahead of the game. But here's the question almost nobody stops to ask. What is that extra money actually costing them? Because every dollar thrown at a 6.5% mortgage is a dollar not going somewhere else. And historically, a broadly diversified investment in the stock market has returned around 10% a year on average over long time horizons. That's a 3.5 percentage point gap. And that gap, compounded over decades, turns into an enormous difference in total wealth. Here's the math. Instead of putting $500 extra per month toward the mortgage, that same $500 goes into an investment account, earning that historical 10% average. After 10 years, $102,000. After 20 years, over $343,000. After 30 years, more than $1 million. Now, to be completely honest, that's a nominal figure. Inflation eats into the real purchasing power of that money over time. But even accounting for inflation, the investment path typically comes out significantly ahead of aggressive mortgage payoff. And here's the deeper point. The mortgage didn't change. The interest rate is still 6.5%. But the decision about what to do with your extra cash completely changes your financial outcome because of a 3.5 point gap between two numbers. Same income, same discipline, completely different result. This is why the old good debt, bad debt label system fails people. Because a 6.5% mortgage and a 22% credit card are not the same decision dressed in different clothes. They are mathematically opposite situations, and they demand mathematically opposite strategies. So, how do you apply this to your own life? Here's a simple 3-zone framework you can use right now. Zone 1 is the green zone. This covers debt with an interest rate roughly below 6%. Most traditional mortgages, some federal student loans, these often fall here. In the green zone, your money is almost always better deployed in an investment account than toward early payoff. You're borrowing cheap and earning more. Let the math work for you. Zone 2 is the red zone. Anything above roughly 15%. This is where credit cards, payday loans, and high-rate personal loans live. In the red zone, there is no investment in the world that reliably beats the guaranteed return of paying this debt off. Attack it aggressively. Make it your financial priority number 1. Zone 3 is the gray zone, and this is where it gets interesting. Anything between roughly 6% and 15%. Car loans, many personal loans, some private student debt. This zone doesn't have a clean universal answer. And the reason is that several factors start to matter here. Your tax situation, how stable your income is, whether you have an emergency fund, and honestly, your own psychology around debt. Some people feel a profound sense of relief when they're completely debt-free. And that peace of mind has genuine value. There's no formula that measures it, but it's real. Others are comfortable carrying a 9% car loan while putting their extra cash into investments because the expected math favors it. And they sleep fine. In the gray zone, the answer is know your number, know yourself, and make a deliberate choice, not a default one. Green, invest. Red, attack. Gray, decide with your eyes open. Now, let's take this one level further, because once you truly understand the rate versus return principle, you start to see how the wealthiest people in the world use it in a way most people never consider. Imagine someone who has built up a $200,000 investment portfolio over the years. They need $50,000 in cash for something, a business opportunity, a property, a major expense. The obvious move seems to be sell some investments, take the cash, move on. But here's what that actually costs them. When you sell investments that have grown in value, you typically owe capital gains tax on the profit. Depending on how long you've held the investment and your income level, That could be 15%, 20%, or even higher in some situations. Suddenly, your $50,000 sale is netting you significantly less, and the investments that were compounding for you are gone. Now, here's the alternative. Instead of selling, they borrow against the portfolio. The investments stay in place. They keep growing. And the loan, secured by the portfolio as collateral, comes at a relatively low interest rate. Let's say 7%. If that portfolio continues growing at its historical average of around 10%, the math looks like this. The investments are earning 10%, the loan is costing 7%, and the difference, that 3% spread, is working in their favor. The assets compound, the cash is available, and no tax bill is triggered because nothing was sold. This is a strategy used routinely by people with significant wealth. And the underlying logic is exactly the same principle you just learned, just applied at a larger scale with more sophisticated tools. Now, an important word of caution. This is not a risk-free strategy. Not even close. If that portfolio drops sharply in value, lenders can issue what's called a margin call, demanding immediate repayment. And if you can't cover it, they force a sale of your investments at exactly the worst possible moment, in a down market, at a loss. The same leverage that amplifies your gains when things go well can devastate you when they go wrong. This is an advanced tool. It belongs in the hands of people with stable, diversified portfolios and a real understanding of the risk they're accepting. It is not a shortcut, but understanding it changes how you think about what debt can actually do. Because at every level, from an $8,000 credit card to a $200,000 portfolio, the question is always the same. What is the rate? What is the alternative return? And which one is higher? Let's bring it all home. Here is your action plan. Right now, today, you can do this in 15 minutes. Step 1. Write down every debt you carry and its interest rate. Every single one. Credit cards, student loans, car payments, mortgage, personal loans, all of it. Just the name and the rate. Step 2. Sort each one into green, red, or gray based on the zones we just covered. Under 6%, green. Above 15%, red. In between, gray. Step 3. Act accordingly. Red debts get attacked first with every extra dollar you can find. Green debts get left alone while your extra money goes to work in the market. Gray debts get a deliberate decision, not a default. That's the whole system. It's not complicated, but it's also not what most people do, because most people are still sorting their debt by label instead of by number. The people who build real wealth over time aren't necessarily earning more. They aren't smarter. They're just using the same money more precisely. They know their numbers. They know which debt is costing them more than it should, and which debt is actually affordable leverage working in their favor. And now, so do you. If this gave you a new way to think about your own financial picture, that's exactly what this channel is here for. Subscribe for more videos that cut through the noise and give you the kind of financial clarity that actually changes decisions. I'll see you in the next one.